Hello there. Welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me on my channel today. I have a card video for you, and I'm sharpening my stash again. This is a penny black cling stamp. It's called Potted Flowers, and I'm going to color it with my Prismacolor pencils. This is the third or fourth rendition of pencil storage for my Prismacolors, and I'll talk about that while we're coloring. I'm going to be stamping this with my Misty stamp positioner, but it is a cling stamp, so I need to remove the black foam in the background or padding. And because this takes the entirety of an A2 size card, I have put a little ruler in the bottom corner of my Misty, and I've turned my Misty landscape position so that I can put the paper back in after I have colored it. When you color with colored pencils, wax is deposited over the stamped lines, and I like to overstamp it to remove that kind of inky or faded inky look. I will be stamping with this Versaclair Nocturne black ink. It does smear a little bit. I thought I had dried it. I even used my heat tool. Thought I had dried it enough. It's okay. You can't see it on the finished project, but it did smear a little bit. So I am going to go ahead and stamp this using the sleeve of my shirt. Yes, it is spring and we're still wearing long sleeves here in Virginia today because Mother Nature has been menopausal this year. We had a very warm early winter and a much cooler beginning of the spring. I don't even know. There's one flower that's on the right side. I don't know if it's a mum or a peony. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, probably a peony. It just did not want to stamp. So I did ink up the stamp set again. And even the second time it didn't want to stamp. So I just inked up the flower. For the pots, I'm going to have two colors of pots. I have pulled some terracotta colored brown colored pencils. And when I color with color pencils, I try to remember the Sandy Allnock trick of holding your pencil as far back from the tip as you can manage and still control the pencil. I am putting the pigment down, the shadows first, and then toward the highlight. And I'm using 2 or 3 layers of color on each image. I have 3 shades of color for everything that I'm coloring, although on some of the leaves and some of the flower petals, I may only use 2 colors at a time. I did contemplate not showing you all of the coloring, but I thought I would just speed it up, fast forward. This is like 400 times normal speed, and talk about storing your Prismacolor pencils. When I first decided to try my hand at Prismacolor pencils, I could not do it simple like getting a small set because why would I do that? I know, insert eye roll here, big heavy eye roll. What I ended up finding was that Amazon had at that particular time the big 150 or whatever pencil set on a really good deal. So I bought that, but it comes in this package with multiple layers that are not super easy to get out to get to the pencils underneath. And so that bothered me. So then I needed to find a pencil storage solution that would allow me access to all my pencils at one time. The other thing that I noticed about Prismacolor pencils is that they are not numbered clearly in numerical order, and rainbow order. Like the number order doesn't match the rainbow order, which I was kind of used to Copic markers, so that was a little bit weird. But also you have like 900s and 1000s and all the things, right? Also with pencils, it is a little bit hard to tell exactly what color you're getting just by looking at the lead. Okay, I'm using air quotes here. It's not lead, but the tip of the pencil. So I found also on Amazon, these pencil pouches that you can roll up They're like made for traveling. But after I bought them, of course I did buy them and use them, all of the tips to my pencils were breaking because the flap that you folded down to keep them in, they're made for pens and markers, not pencils. So that was storage failure number 1. So I spent some time looking around, and I found this set of drawers. It was 3 little wooden drawers, perfectly made for Prisma pencil or for pencils. And so I could put them in these drawers in order of the color chart that you can download on Prisma's website. And I have used, I have 2 sets of those drawers, although to be fair, I only used 4 of the 6 drawers. The bottom 2 drawers I used to store my watercolor pencils and a few other things. That worked for, okay, we've been in this house 8 years. I bought them after, so maybe 5 years I've had them that way. The problem that bugged me was when I would use Prismacolor combinations that I wanted to try out or that I had seen on somebody else's project. I had a hard time putting my pencils back where they went in the drawers and then finding them the next time I wanted to use that color, because again, they're not numbered 1 to 1,000. So last week I was coloring with them and I was frustrated, and I went on Amazon again and found the pencil pouch that I showed at the beginning of this video. This is a 4-page pencil book. It's got zippers on all 4 pages, and each pencil has its own little sewn slot. So I can take out a handful of pencils and use my color chart and get them all back in the right order. And I think that it might actually satisfy my storage, quirk. We're just going to call it a quirk. I am also the same person that went on Etsy and bought that laser cut wood insert for all the Copic pens. So all of my Copic markers are in color families in numerical order in one slot, so I know exactly what color is missing. I should know myself by now that is how I like to store things. So I am really enjoying this pencil pouch. Or this pencil book, because then if I have 2 or 3 slots empty in the same kind of color category, I can pull out my chart. I can see which order they go in, and I'm having much greater success at a greater desire to pull out my colored pencils, because I know I will be able to A, find the one I'm looking for, and B, put them back with not much hassle. So then I have these 2 sets of drawers that were actually a gift. I showed them to my husband and said, hey, I want the kids to buy me this for Mother's Day. Yes, that is how we roll in our family. And they're fabulous. I don't want to get rid of them. So I tried to figure out what else I was going to do with them. And I've left all of my watercolor pencils in them. And then I added like all of my gel pens and some acrylic paint pens that were always at the bottom of my drawer, not being used. They were a total impulse buy. I haven't actually used them for many things, but I have them, and now that they're not at the bottom of a drawer somewhere, maybe I will use them better. So that is my Prisma pencil storage saga. Leave me a comment down below. If you have color pencils, how many times or how many ways did you find to store your pencils before you found the one that you think will work for you the best? And if I'm weird and it took me, 7, 8 years and 3 different solutions to figure it out, don't point that out, because I already know. I know I'm weird. I know I'm weird. I am one of those people who likes all of my crafting things to be within an arm's reach, even if it means I have to flip my chair around and reach it that direction. Because if it's not, I don't use it. Yeah. So Back to the coloring a little bit. I used the same 3 color combination for all of the leaves and stems. I did vary the highlights and lowlights a little bit. Some have more shadow than other because the flowers are bigger or because the leaves are closer together. And for the butterflies, these butterflies are very detailed drawings. I did not want to color each section independently. They're too little for that. So I just put the shadow on what I felt would be the darkest part of each wing and then blended it out. And on the butterflies, at some points, I did use 4 colors, actually. It's 2 dark oranges, a mid-tone orange or a dark yellow, and a light yellow to get the contrast I was looking for, especially for that butterfly up on the top, which would have fewer shadows from everything else. For the body of the butterfly, I just used the darkest brown that I used in the pots because I didn't want to introduce yet another color. Also, when I go to color the flowers, I have yellow, orange, purple, and pink flowers. Anytime I used yellow or orange, I pulled colors from the butterflies to use, maybe just adding another highlight for the yellows so that I'm not, this is already going to be a colorful card. Let's keep the color family simple. So for this daffodil, I did go ahead and color it a yellow daffodil, even though my favorite ones are the white ones. I like the ones that are white petals with the yellow in the center because they're harder to find. I don't know. And I just added the shadows in the darker places and then drew the highlights out or colored the highlights out. I did not do any super fancy coloring with the flowers. I just tried to add highlights and lowlights. This tall flower, I'm assuming is a Gerber or daisy because some flowers don't get planted in pots because they would be too tall, right? So for the Gerber or daisy, I used a dark color and a mid-tone color for the petals that were very obviously pushed behind, and then the mid-tone and the light color for the petals that were in the front. And on this flower, I did each petal one at a time so that I could determine if it was behind another flower, if that makes sense. And I just spun my paper around so that it was easy for me to access the petal. I'm trying to put my hand on the colored image as little as possible for 2 reasons. I did notice that there were I was smearing that black ink. This is when I noticed it started to smear. But also I had some colored pencil pigment, like the tip of my pencil must have broken off a little bit. And when my hand sat on it, it kind of smeared the pencil pigment onto my card front as well. For the center of the Gerber daisy, I just went with that dark brown that I used in the pots, and for the 2 dark browns rather that I used for the pots and the butterfly bodies. Wow, words are hard. Alliteration always makes me stutter. I don't know. This iris, I'm coloring purple because of course I am. I like the purple flowers. I have 3 colors, a dark, a medium, and a light. And again, just going darkest to lightest. On the flowers with the little petals, I only colored each petal one time. On this iris, especially the petals in the front, I did go over them a couple of times to make sure that the pencils blended well together. The light, medium, and dark blended nicely. Probably didn't really need to, but I felt like it looked a little unfinished. That's a good word, unfinished. And you see that hand brush there? Don't ever do that when you're using colored pencils because you're just begging to have pencil pigment smear all across your card front. Because, yeah, don't do that. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the coloring here. So what else can we chat about while we're coloring? See, I totally should have cut some of this out. We talked about Prismacolor pencil storage, and we talked about how I color with colored pencils. Have you ever taken a class? I feel like I want to take some coloring classes. Not necessarily, I don't know what the right word is, how to color classes, but I want to learn how to use my product better, if that makes sense. I feel like when I color with Copics that it looks nice. I don't know that I'm exactly what you would call a colorist. Like, it looks nice. I like it. But am I getting the most out of my Copic markers, my alcohol pens? Same with colored pencils. Also, I want to learn how to better use my watercolors. I have watercolor pens, watercolor pencils, and actual watercolors. And I have 3 different watercolor palettes. I have a Magello Mission Gold, four palettes. I have a Magello Mission Gold. I have a sample card of Daniel Smith's. I have Tonzai Gombe, and I have, that field kit from, Winsor Newton. That's what it is. I want to learn how to use them better. But anyway, back to finishing the card. I have put the card panel back into my Misty and stamped over it. I did off camera dry that ink with my heat tool, and I've pulled a piece of green cardstock out to make the card base. That's another thing I'm trying to do. I have a wall of colored cardstock, and the more I color, the less I use the colored cardstock. For a while there, I wasn't using it at all. I'm like, I paid money for this. I need to use these cardstocks for card bases. So I'm trying to do that a little bit more often as well. This, like I said at the beginning, is a full panel, and I didn't love it. I don't know. I should have left it. Right now, I'm telling you right now, I should have left it. But off camera, I took it and trimmed it down like a 1/16 of an inch on each side a couple of different times. So I felt like it was even, and adding adhesive to the back with my ATG double-sided adhesive. And I'm lining the card base up on my work surface with my grid mat so that I can like visually center this card mat. And it's not even. I should have left it. But that's okay. It's still a really pretty card. I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of copy paper on the inside so there is a place to write a nice message. And I'm putting no sentiment on this card. A lot of times I put sentiments on and then I need the card for something different and I have to take it off or, whatever. So I'm leaving this with no sentiment so I can use it for whatever I need it for. And that's the whole card. The longest part of this card by far was the coloring. So thanks for hanging in there with me. I know that sometimes that's a little rough. I have a couple of other videos here that you might like as well. I've also added a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. Talk to me about your color pencils. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and have a really fabulous day.